Good afternoon, Bedford. This is Dr. Carl Shultz, Bedford Public Schools Superintendent, and I'm here today with a brief overview of the district learning plan recertification process and timeline for the start of the second semester, which begins on February 1st, 2021. As you may be aware, the state of Michigan requires all local districts to review our learning plans once every 30 days, and that forces us to look at the local, county, and statewide level COVID-19 related data, as well as other success indicators to ensure a safe and successful learning environment. My goal for today is to give a brief overview of the changes of the learning plans that will be recommended to the Board of Ed on the January 21st Board of Education meeting that would take place on, once again, the start of the second semester on February 1st. We'll start by going over a real brief recap of how we started the school year and where we are today. So back in June of 2020, the state released a roadmap for successful school return. It was 40 plus pages and incorporated any of the mitigation strategies that were required for in-person learning, as well as an outline of the 6 phases for a safe return and how they coincided with the 6 phases of a MySafe return to the state of Michigan. The district started in phase 4, which allowed us to have learning options for our students, both in person and full virtual. And we started off the year with our current model, which was a cohort style in-person learning, as well as a full virtual option. That lasted successfully for about 9.5 weeks until the beginning part of November, when the state and local number of cases really had an explosion. And the district at one point had about 1/10 of our staff were quarantined. So we had almost 50 individual staff members quarantined, which meant that we were forced to suspend in-person learning and return to a full virtual model, which we remained in through January 10th. We are now back in our cohort model and doing well so far for the first week. And as described at the last Board of Education recertification, we were working on a plan to incorporate a more traditional model of in-person learning that would start at the second semester if data allowed us to do so. So this is a review of that next level plan, which will be submitted to the board for approval on the 21st of February. Just an idea of how we created these plans. We do have state of Michigan guidelines that really determine what we can and cannot do. The first roadmap, which included the 6 phases I previously mentioned, was struck down by the Michigan Supreme Court rule that stated the governor did not have the power to continuously renew her emergency powers, but it did allow for other options for the government to include emergency orders, which would determine mitigation strategies and required mitigation activities within local schools and businesses. The current guidance, however, was released on January 8th and is called the State of Michigan Revised Guidance for Opening Schools Safely. And while this is a much shorter document, it does give detailed information for districts, allowing for a reduction in some of the mitigation strategies based on local and state availability, but it also maintains many of the same safety strategies that were in place previously. So these revised State of Michigan guidelines still maintain the safety protocols. It did reduce the recommended social distancing from 6 feet to 3 feet within classrooms and within the cafeteria. It also included ventilation and proper air circulation guidelines, but it also maintained student cafeteria service, allowing districts that had the space to maintain cafeteria service, and those that did not gave the flexibility to create other plans. It included the same symptom screening process, which the district has employed from the beginning of this school year with our staff and student screening tools. The response to positive tests for COVID-19, it allowed the district to continue to work with the local health departments, which we have done successfully, to initiate investigations and contact tracing measures and to quarantine as necessary. It outlined food service, athletics, and extracurricular activities. The guidance suggests that we take caution with any extracurricular activities where students would exhaust themselves within the school building, and to take precautions and follow the MHSAA guidelines for athletes and athletic competition at the secondary level. And it also had food service guidelines emphasizing the space alternatives to putting all students in the cafeteria when available. The cleaning schedule remained the same. Student desks need to be cleaned between each transition if students were changing classes, or twice daily if students were remaining in a cohort style like our current elementary program. It included the workplace safety precautions, where schools and employees continue to be covered by the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines for MIOSHA, which came out on October 14th. And finally, which is a big one for the district, it may not seem so, but the quarantine and isolation precautions for staff and students for both positive cases as well as close contacts. The amount of time quarantine was reduced from 14 days previously to the current recommendation of 10 days, as long as there are no symptoms existing. As again, when you're talking about almost 3 weeks versus 2 full weeks, that is a great deal of change, which will potentially help our district greatly as we move forward to remain in person. So while we were creating our plan, we came up with some key indicators to help the planning process. We knew our overall goal from the beginning of the school year has remained the same, and that's to create an in-person learning model where students learn face-to-face from their current course teachers without having to do so virtually. The two things we really had to keep in mind, though, were, again, those state of Michigan revised guidelines, the mitigation strategies, the social distancing, the timelines for quarantining and for cleaning, as well as we do have 9 different bargaining groups within our district and employee groups. So we have to also meet the guidelines of those 9 contracts to ensure that we're meeting the operational work rules for our groups. For teaching purposes, our teachers, depending which level they're at, receive a 45 to 60 minute lesson planning period each day, and that is so that they can construct quality lesson plans and deliver quality instruction to our students. But also all of our groups are entitled to a duty-free lunch, as is all other employees in the state of Michigan. And teaching and building ancillary staff members are also scheduled throughout the day. So we know that we can't just reschedule our staff for our ancillary and support staff members to help out in cafeterias and other places where needed, because they're already doing important jobs throughout the district. So we had to keep these pieces and key indicators in mind while constructing our next plan. However, successfully, I would say, through the cooperation of the health department and our leadership team, we have designed a new learning plan, which will be recommended and hopefully approved by the Board of Ed on the 21st of January. It still provides 2 options. However, we are shifting our primary option of learning back to a full in-person learning model. This will be our primary option, and we hope that all students choose to return back to this more traditional-like model. At the elementary level, young 5s through K5, students will attend school in person and follow a daily schedule with shortened school days. We will keep the same current elementary schedule where students are released every day at 2 p.m. to allow for prep time for teachers, also for lunch times, and to give students a break because they won't have all the activity they normally have in a school day. The students in grades 6 through 12 that attend in person as a primary option will change classes every single hour. We have reduced the number of minutes for each class down to 45 minutes. So each student will have a 45-minute class each period, and then they will change. The difference with this schedule, besides rotating classes and learning directly from your teacher, not through their virtual modality, is that we will be releasing every day at 12:25 at the secondary level, both junior high and high school. And the reason being is so that we can get our students out of the buildings and give them a lunch on their way out so that they can have a safe, light lunch environment and not be in crowded cafeteria spaces. When we looked at the options for trying to hold lunches to meet the minimum requirements for both safety, social distancing, and possibility for cleaning, we were looking at the potential of having 5, 6, 7 lunches every single day in each building. And it's not conducive to a consistent continuity of learning. So we've shortened the day to be able to get students in and out while learning from all their classroom teachers, which is really what the focus was, to ensure a successful learning environment. All health practices will continue to be implemented at both schools. All students attending in person must wear facial coverings, which is a state mandate. It has to be an approved face mask. It cannot be one of the pull-ups or the gator type masks that some students were using at the beginning of the year. They have now identified what a facial covering is, and that will be in our return to learning guide. And curricular and extracurricular activities after school will be adhering to either MHSAA or state emergency guidelines. But we do hope to hold as many activities as possible to give our students that opportunity. As an alternate option, while number one is the primary for in-person, if students cannot return for some reason and they still need a virtual option, we will maintain our current K5 learning option. But I do want to make families aware that there's a strong likelihood that the teachers will change for our students who have been in full virtual all year, because as more students come back into the classrooms, we will have to consolidate classroom teachers across the district at each grade level for virtual learning. So you may be a student at JRE in third grade and be learning from a third grade teacher at MRE virtually. So students could be in a third grade class that are attending 3 different buildings on paper. So I do want to make that known so that there's no expectation of keeping the same teacher for the second semester. It may happen, but the likelihood is strong that you will have to switch virtual teachers if you remain in full virtual model. In grades 6 through 12, it's a different type program if you elect to be in our full virtual model, and that is utilizing the Edgenuity platform, similar to the model that our current students in our Bedford Virtual Academy utilize. Edgenuity offers grade level specific classes for students in 6 through 12, as well as electives, and I'll go over that in a little more detail shortly. Students who are in complete virtual learning programs can still participate in extracurricular activities after school and athletics. However, they are not going to be allowed to take and pick 1 or 2 specialty classes to take during the school day. Some teachers or some students have requested that they remain virtual, but be able to take either a career tech education class or a band class or an art class in person. We are not going to be allowed to do that, be able to do that for the start of the second semester and through the remainder of the year. If you are full virtual, you will remain full virtual. And if you want to participate in extracurricular activities, you can do so after school. So a little more in-depth look at the second semester options for elementary. As I mentioned, the in-person model will remain pretty consistent with where we are today. We are hoping to add more teachers, which will shift the number of students in the classes down a little bit. We do know that we will have some classes that are a little higher, but we will do everything we can to maintain that social distancing in the classrooms. Recess will still be daily. And if permitted and weather permits, we will zone off the playgrounds outside and students will be outside whenever possible. If the students will still get access to virtual specials. However, the number of special options will be reduced for the lessons each week, and they are now optional as opposed to students mandated to complete those options. So all specials for both in-person and virtual learning will be optional assignments provided weekly. If you are a full virtual elementary student, you, as I mentioned, may have to switch teachers, but you will have a BPS grade level teacher that is certified. They will do a great job for you. It may look a little different because you have students from 3 different buildings in the same third grade class, but it will be a BPS teacher. A sample day, this is an example of the 8:30 start time to 2 p.m. release time. All students within the district, and including the elementary level, have access to free lunch and breakfast each day. You can see the example for schedules. Times will vary for the different lunches at the elementary level. We have been doing so successfully thus far, and we have a majority of our students already in buildings learning in person. So we know that we can do this safely at the elementary level based on the schedule we've created. Secondary level, the in-person learning model, as previously described, it'll be a 7:30 till 12:25 day. All students will have access to free breakfast each morning to ensure that they have the proper nutrition and energy levels that they need to successfully learn throughout the day. And dismissal at 12:25, students will be able to, on a weekly basis, sign up for to-go carry-out lunches. We will have a system in place where you can sign up and register to take home a lunch every day. Students who are at home will still have access to pick up lunches. The carry-out lunch program we've been using since last March with pickups throughout the year. And then the exciting thing that we've been able to add because of the 12:25 dismissal is that students who are struggling or that need additional assistance, teachers will be scheduling targeted intervention programs between 1:15 and 2:30 each and every day for their students who are either failing with an E or D in the class or that just need additional assistance. We will be having rotating schedules for those students to work with their teachers. And we will also be working toward having intervention programs with transportation available at all levels by the end of the school year and throughout the summer. So we do have some great pieces to ensure that our students who have struggled thus far this year can catch up, and we can do whatever we can to ensure that that happens. The virtual learning program through grades 6 through 8 during the second semester. You can see these are the classes that will be scheduled for your 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. If there is a particular individual student that needs a different class, we will do everything we can to get a class that is as closely related as possible. The Edgenuity teachers are certified Michigan teachers. They also have success coaches built into the program. We've been using this program at the BVA for quite some time and have found great success with it. The secondary level for grades 9 through 12, the high school student classes will be trying to mirror their current schedules as closely as possible, and we will place them in Edgenuity classes that meet their graduation requirements and needs for each student. You can see that students enrolled in Edgenuity classes, both at the junior high and high school, will have access to support systems that guides, communicates with them on a daily basis, high quality, state certified virtual teachers, concept coaches that are built into the programs. We think that we can do this well. It'll look different, but it will be an opportunity for students that just cannot return for various reasons to maintain a full virtual learning and still be a part of the district. And as I mentioned previously, you can still participate in all extracurricular activities. You just can't go between the two programs the second semester. So whichever program is selected within the next 2 weeks will be the program that students maintain for the remainder of the school year. We will not be making another selection at the end of the second or the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. The next learning program selected will be for the remainder of the school year. And speaking of the second semester selections, I will be putting out a new survey for the entire second semester in the near future. I'm hoping to get that done so that I can send it out with the link to this video, as well as to the more detailed guide and the PDF version of this presentation. I figured some might want a narrative so that I can cover the high points. Others will want to turn the volume down, not listen to me, and just read through it at your own pace. I completely understand. I do that often myself. And of course, there is the option for the district to need to return to the intermittent full virtual learning for all students. If there is an outbreak, once again, at the state, county, or local level, if we end up having to quarantine and a large group of students, staff members that we just cannot facilitate a district-wide program, we might have to revert. So this program still does allow us to do that. But we believe that moving forward with the data trend we've seen for the last 3 to 4 weeks, we think we have a real high level of success likelihood that we can maintain our in-person learning and move to this more traditional schedule. And keep it safe, because we won't be putting 300 to 400 students at the secondary level inside one cafeteria at a time, or having to schedule 6+ lunches to ensure that we keep it safe. So this may not be the perfect schedule for all families, but I think that it inherently gets to our goal of having students learn directly from their staff, their scheduled staff members each and every day. It keeps a continuity of learning without having to schedule 1 day a week without coming in and being physically in the buildings. And it's not a half-day schedule. It's more of a 5 to 6 hour schedule to meet our student family needs. So we are proud of the work that we have done. I'm very proud of the team that we've assembled here in this district and the work that we've been able to accomplish throughout throughout the beginning of this school year with collaborating both at the state and county level. We have a lot of respect for the work that the county health department has done. They've done a phenomenal job of keeping local districts at the forefront of what they're doing. We currently, since in the last week, the governor has moved up educators into the vaccination pool. We already have 100 staff members who are either vaccinated or scheduled to be vaccinated. And so we have some more to do, but we are well on our way to being more secure and able to maintain our in-person learning programs. So along with this video, you will get, again, the Return to Learning Guide, which has more detailed information and examples. You will also get the PDF version of this. And if I can get the the student survey completed, I will have it in there. But you will have until Friday, January 22nd to complete that. I just want to once again reiterate, this selection is for the remainder of the year. So if for some reason an individual class or a student is quarantined, they can follow along with their teacher through Schoology, much in the same way that we have been doing. But we do feel that this successful plan will be able to be implemented with fidelity, and we can move forward as a district as we continue to once again move toward a more traditional schedule. So I thank you all, and I appreciate all the time and effort that you put into learning about these programs and making smart decisions for your family. I look forward to getting as many students back into buildings as possible based on these plans and designs. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your building principals, myself, Dr. Mark French, or any of our leadership team, and we will do our very best to ensure that we can answer your questions in a timely manner. But thank you for your support and your continued partnership, and everybody be safe.